Coming up on Hogue and Johns, it's a Wednesday edition, and we have Courtney Cronin from ESPN joining us. Always good to have her on the show. Plus, we'll give you some numbers as we usually do on Wednesday and a couple nuggets at the end as well. Hogue and Johns starts right now. What's up? Welcome in. Hogue and Johns back with you, midweek edition, as we move ahead to a big game against the Baltimore Ravens this weekend, Johns. One of the better games of the weekend, honestly.
Do we have more information on Lamar Jackson yet?
I don't know. Do you?
No. Do you?
Yeah. No, maybe John Harbaugh does, or maybe it'll just be a big secret. We should get an injury report today, though. It is Wednesday. So we'll see.
Lamar Jackson did not practice on Monday.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't when the Bears came back from the bye, like Brisker didn't practice all week.
Yeah, but this is your quarterback who hasn't practiced for a bit.
I know. Teams play games after bye week, so we'll see. I think we'll have more clarity here in the next 24, 48 hours, obviously. But we're gonna jump into put away Sunday's win against the Saints too, and kind of just reset on where the Bears are, as we usually do in the middle of the week. Welcome in. Follow us on all of our social channels at Hogue and Johns. And we this time I will be smart enough to mention off the top, next Tuesday, we have a live recording. Do not miss it. It's going to be fun. We're going to be on the Riverwalk in Chicago, right downtown, the Chicago Brew House, a great venue. They keep their patio open into November. And they got everything, for the elements in case it's a little chilly. It'll be football weather out there, but they got heaters. They got everything. It's going to be a good time. Come on out, 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and we'll see if we'll be talking about a Bears victory over the Ravens. But I don't want to keep her waiting any longer. Courtney Cronin is here with us on Hogue and Johns today and kind enough to join us. What's going on, Courtney?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Just stuck in the middle of the week here, figuring out quarterback situations.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing with Lamar Jackson and the hamstring, like John Harbaugh said, like right after the game in week 6, that he was hopeful that Lamar would play in week 8. And then you have the whole bye week and he doesn't practice in their Monday. Like if you can't practice during the light practice, what does that mean for later in the week? That's just kind of how I'm viewing it right now. So I feel like this will be one that we end up talking about all the way up until kickoff, which is, par for the course with Lamar and these hamstring injuries.
Well, and I think that's important, Courtney, because if it's like there's a number of different ways they can handle it this week. They could just practice today and he's good to go, and they come out and say, yep, we're having him back this week. Or if it is he's limited, or a DNP on Wednesday and then maybe limited by Friday, and they say he's a game time decision, to me, that would say that he's not 100% yet. He might be trying to play through it, which is significant when you consider so much of their offense is based on him running with the football. And it's like, even I watched the Chiefs Ravens game, the game where he got hurt, over on Monday. And as soon as they make that quarterback switch with Cooper Rush coming in, it's a different, they're running a different offense. They have to.
Yeah, I was there on sideline for ESPN Radio's call of the Ravens-Rams game in week 6, and they don't want Cooper Rush throwing the football. It is very apparent. But they also didn't seem to want to stick with Derrick Henry running the ball either, to get stopped 3 times inside the 1-yard line right before halftime and get booed off the field. That should show you the state of things in Baltimore for a 1-5 team right now. But it's, if he's limited, if he's not able to be the full Lamar Jackson, then I feel like it's a complete advantage for the Bears defense. And if Cooper Rush is playing, which I wouldn't be surprised if they evaluated that and said, maybe Snoop Huntley is actually a better backup quarterback, considering he is more like Lamar Jackson than Cooper Rush is in terms of skill set that he brings to the table. It's, if you're 1-5 and still trying to make a push because you play in the AFC North and you feel like maybe 8-9 wins could get that done, which is crazy to think about, then maybe you do make some significant changes to the offense. Because I know that Harbaugh talked about using the bye week to evaluate everything from defensive play calling to what's going on, as to why they can't score, they can't score a lot of points right now, and to where their identity has gone in Lamar Jackson's absence the last couple of weeks.
What did you see from their defense when you're watching from the sideline? They obviously have some star power. Roquan Smith, we know very well, but they're not very good, it seems.
No, and they're very injured. So, Roquan didn't play in that game. Questionable, I guess, as to this point when we're recording on Wednesday morning, if he's going to be back this week. They had Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey back, which should, in theory, have given the secondary a boost, but they just seem kind of listless out there. There's no pass rush to speak of. They have the second fewest sacks in the NFL, so they're not generating pressure up front. I think a big part of that was the Matabike injury earlier in the season that cost him. I think it's a neck injury. He's out for the year. So you're not getting that push from the interior of your defensive line. Their edges aren't crashing. There's a big problem up front because they're not affecting opposing quarterbacks. And that, of course, affects the back end of the defense. I mean, it was injuries first and foremost from week 1 onward. That was the easy excuse. But then for as talented as they seem on paper with the players that they have, you mentioned star power, Johns, they're not playing like it. The injury thing is only an excuse for so long because they got guys back and they still don't look very good. So whether it's a regression from overall play, regression in play calling. This is Zach Orr's second year as a defensive coordinator, and he talked about some of the noise around his job security before the bye week. I mean, it's very apparent that there's a lot going on there in Baltimore for a team that is not used to being in this territory. And it's certainly you feel it the most on defense because it's not the big, bad Baltimore Ravens defense of old. It feels like a shell of what they used to be. And I felt that covering that Rams game, especially when they got the run game going in the second half, it was game over at that point.
Well, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but the parents are taking the toys away in Baltimore. It came out yesterday that the coaches have removed the ping pong table, the video game consoles, the basketball hoop, and the cornhole boards from the locker room. But
so
my first
things
reaction
are really
to that
bad.
That's a lot of stuff to have in your locker room. The Bears have a basketball hoop, but we got video games going on in there.
As a next step is the phones, right? If really parenting, take away the phones.
Hey, maybe that's coming up next. Jog your memory a little bit here too. Going back to the 2021 season, the Ravens came to Soldier Field. Lamar Jackson was out. Tyler Huntley played quarterback, 26 of 36, 219 yards. No touchdowns. He did throw an interception, and the Ravens won that game 16-13. Based on what I've seen, I think I would, if Lamar can't go, I would make that quarterback switch too.
Right. I was so stunned that Cooper Rush, it just doesn't make sense given the offense has been built around Lamar Jackson. Why would you not have his backup mirror what he can do best? They did not trust Cooper Rush to throw the ball against the Rams. And it was apparent from the get-go. But then when they stuck with the run, they got away from it. So there was just it was such a disjointed effort. And it wasn't until the fourth quarter that they bench Rush and they bring Snoop Huntley in. And I think he had a fourth down conversion. It's all right, might they get back in this thing? I mean, the score was 17-3. It wasn't completely unmanageable, but they went to him too late, in my opinion. And now that you've had a week to think about it, you'd think the logical answer would be, if Lamar can't go, to have the quarterback who can run the offense the same way, and you're not having to install something what feels completely different. I don't understand why they wouldn't make that switch. I'm with you.
All right, so we're gonna have a little fun with this segment. We're gonna play off the good, better, best mantra that Ben Johnson has now made famous for his post-game videos. That's what he does. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. So this is the game we're going to play. All right, good, better, best. Who has been good? Who needs to be better? Who have been the Bears' best players? So let's start with the good. Courtney, Adam, who has been good, in your opinion, thus far?
So I say, and I'm just looking at this on a recent stretch because it hasn't been this way all season, but I'll say Montez Sweat has been good, which I have him on my list. Yeah. I was a little surprised that it took me this long to put him in a category like this because he had such a slow start to the season. but given all the things he accounted for against the Saints, the sack, the forced fumble, the 4th and 1 stop, like that's what you paid this guy for. That's why he's here. He should be playing like your best defensive lineman, and he did on Sunday. And that's coming off of, his first sack not that long before then. Like, yeah, 2 sacks through 6 games right now. You probably want to see that number go up a little bit more. You want to see him playing more. You want to see him being able to pressure and get around the quarterback more. But I'd say he's been good, because I think good is solid. And he had 2 good games in a row, and they need him to carry that into this game in Baltimore.
Everybody obsesses with like the pass rush, and rightfully so. He's being paid as a high-end pass rusher, but he's been good against the run.
Yeah.
With the Bears, well, their improvements against the run since the Raiders game. He had that tackle for loss on 4th down with Tremaine Edmonds against the Saints, a key play to get the Saints off the field. So he's on my list as a good player so far for the Bears too.
So I'll go to the offensive side of the ball, and I will give you DeAndre Swift, who has backed up Ben Johnson's comments about how when the run game was struggling earlier in the season, Ben seemed adamant that it wasn't the running backs who were at fault, that they needed to block better up front, that the whole thing just had to get going. And even when it was struggling, Swift would come up with a play here and there. So I could buy it that it wasn't his fault. And then now that it's all clicked, we're seeing a good running back. And I think he has been more willing to trust his running lanes inside the tackles and not bounce it outside. And we're seeing some creases now where DeAndre Swift looks more than good enough to keep this running game going the rest of the season, along with Kyle Monunga, because I think Sunday it probably won't look as good as Sunday every single week, obviously. But if you can get that 1-2 punch with those 2 running backs, that's exactly what you're looking for.
I have 2 names for you in the secondary. I want your thoughts on them both. Tyreek Stevenson, before his injury, the advanced stats say he's been exceptional. I'm not sure I'm ready to put him in an all-pro category yet, but I think he's been good. Jaquan Brisker, we saw him in the backfield a lot against the Saints. I think he's been good with maybe some borderline best characteristics there. So I think the Bears secondary overall has been outstanding. And 2 reasons why has been the good play of Tyreek Stevenson and Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you've seen a different Tyreek Stevenson since that Detroit game. And it's snowballed from how aggressive he was at getting after the football in Dallas, and then the Las Vegas game where Ben Johnson said that was one of the most, athletic plays he's seen, where Stevenson stretches out for the interception, and then being able to carry that into Washington. And what we saw briefly before he exited with the shoulder injury last week, in that 4-game sample size, I think you look at that and say everything from the first 2 weeks he was able to put behind him, and he can be the fill-in replacement for Jalen Johnson for what feels that this will probably be, all season at this rate, because it's indefinite that he'll be out. So I think you feel good about that. I think you feel good with the combination of him and Nashawn Wright. And even, when Stevenson was out, seeing some of Kyler Gordon back there at outside corner, I think you feel better about you feel good about the secondary. I don't want to blend my words here since we're about to do better, but I think that's fair. And that's a very fair fair to put Brisker in there too.
All right, now go ahead.
Sorry, and especially when you see the attrition in the secondary, it's a good thing that we're saying it's been good in the secondary, because they've obviously had a ton of injuries.
All right, now this gets interesting. Who needs to play better?
I'll say it's Caleb Williams. And I think that's low-hanging fruit. I think that's an obvious answer, but I do feel like we saw a little bit of regression against the Saints of some of the habit things that he does, where he's holding it when he drops back, he's holding onto the ball too long, he's not seeing things downfield. Take for example the interception. So that could have been a frustration moment because 2 plays before the wheel route from DeAndre Swift gets wiped off based on the offensive pass interference. And I do feel like there have been those moments before where there have been flags and Caleb has made some not great decisions after that. Maybe that's just frustration of getting a big gain wiped off, of just forcing something. But vision on that play. He had he had DJ Moore over the middle of the field. He had Colston Loveland in the flat. I think that Manun guy was also on the opposite side for a check down. And he forced that ball to Rome Odunze. So it's plays like that where I'm like, that can't continue to happen. And then even before the half, when he talked last week about his footwork isn't lining up when he's on the move to be able to be accurate on some of those throws, those big gains that we are so used to seeing from him from college to the early part of his NFL career, he needs to be better in those areas. And I think the biggest thing, if I was saying like hole in the game plan, which factors into you need to be better there, why didn't he scramble at all? Like, why didn't he try to like pick up any yards with his legs against New Orleans Saints? They'd given up significant amount of yards to quarterbacks on the ground. Jackson Dart, I think, was like 54. The week before they played the Bears, Drake May picked up a first down or two. Like that to me is where Caleb needs to read what's going on downfield. And if no one's open or if he's not seeing anybody open, you need to take off because you can be a weapon there. Like, and Ben Johnson has said just as much about utilizing Caleb as a weapon on the ground. And you don't want it to be like, the biggest part of your running game, but it should certainly be there nonetheless.
Yeah, and I felt like Caleb acknowledged that after the game too. That there were some times he probably should have run with it. Mm-hmm. By the way, a little teaser in our insider analysis column today for everybody listening. I broke down the interception, so if you want to check out the film on that play and kind of what happened, that's in there and up this morning on allchgo.com for our diehards. I'm gonna actually go with the player you guys named in the good category, because I think they're paying him to be better. And that is Montez Sweat. I will acknowledge that he has been good the last couple games and certainly was good on Sunday. But he is getting paid and expected to be at a category where he's really supposed to be, I would say, at least a borderline blue chip player. Like he's not up there with the Micah Parsons of the world, obviously, but he is being paid to sort of do what Parsons did Sunday in Arizona, which is close out the game when you have a lead. Like, get after the quarterback, be relentless. So I think we've seen flashes of it more often recently, but I still think for what they're expecting of him and really what this defense needs to be to, I think, be more consistent. They've obviously been good overall, but more consistent. And certainly when you start playing some of these tougher teams like the Ravens on Sunday, I still think it's fair to say Montez needs to be better.
I have a surprising name for you, Rome Odunze. And
that's not a surprise.
Okay,
I like this one.
He was my 1B here because of what the last 2 weeks have looked like.
Yeah.
And granted, really what the last week looked like, because we're not talking about him in this category if that touchdown doesn't get wiped off in Washington.
Absolutely, and this is a matter of like expectations too. This is a first round pick, 10th overall pick, a player you expect so much from. And I'm just thinking of all those contested catches, which we know Rome Odunze has brought up himself in terms of wanting to be better at, wanting to improve at. And once those plays start clicking for Rome Odunze, like, then he's amongst the best. I think that's where the conversation goes. But I think he can play better. I think he would tell you himself if he was on this podcast right now that he could play better and be a better part of this offense.
I agree. I think it's fair.
Even earlier in the season when he was putting up those big numbers, there was a moment like in every single game, it seemed like, where there was one more contested catch that he probably could have brought down.
Yeah, I mean, the one near the goal line against Dallas, like, that's a gimme play right there. And, you think about what happened under the 2-minute warning in the first half, 3 targets from Caleb to Rome. And there's that one that McKinstry broke up that, he comes behind him, but Rome has to make that catch. Ben Johnson said as much, that there were like 2 that Rome should have made, 1 that should have been better ball placement from Caleb Williams. And I mean, when you lead all FBS programs in contested catches during his final season at Washington, like, that is the expectation that you're going, if you want to be a number 1 receiver, which he is, like, but you have to be better in those moments. You have to be able to win your matchup. And it just, for some reason, doesn't feel like the last 2 weeks, but really this last game against New Orleans, that it's been like that. And then he doesn't get targeted at all in the second half. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with Caleb and Rome needing to both be better and both be more on the same page.
Before we move on, Courtney, where do you stand on the cadence issues that have, come back for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, it's, I think first and foremost, I thought Drew Dahlman, talking to him after the game, the accountability factor there is, checking every box very clearly from Ben Johnson all the way down to the players, like both offensive linemen that I spoke to, like right away, Theo Benedette, who looked pretty pissed like at himself. And I think it was obviously you're thrilled for the win, but I remember he was sitting there and he was at his locker inside Soldier
He did
Field.
look pissed, by the way.
Like he was just sitting there kind of like staring like blankly ahead. I'm like, hey Theo, do you have a second? He was like, yeah, absolutely. I was just like, I want to like, run up on him when he looked like he was like really contemplating like what the hell just happened, because obviously he gets flagged multiple times the week before his illegal formation penalty, wipes off a touchdown. Like there's literally nothing worse than that. And I'm sure, when he says I'm not playing winning football in that game, that's something that he takes personally. And then you talk to Drew Dahlman, who's like, yeah, like I don't really know why I double clutched there. And maybe it's not hearing Caleb. I mean, you're at home. It doesn't seem like there were noise issues with the offense. Like 2 weeks in a row, I think that he would fall into that needs to be better category, because there was the one snap in Washington that got bungled, and then the two, especially when they're in that situation, you're near the goal line and you have to settle for field goals over touchdowns there because of what happened. And it's the one time a false start penalty actually helped the Bears because of getting to redo the down.
Yeah,
like it's weird that it's popping up now, but he said it's a technique thing that he needs to fix. And it's not something that Caleb Williams is doing wrong. It's something that's on Dahlman. Now, whether there is a bit of truth to the quarterback needing to maybe change, do his cadence differently, I don't know. It's just for a veteran center to all of a sudden have trouble with that in two snaps be kind of costly for them was kind of alarming, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Johns.
No. I was just gonna say, like, they're so widespread, like the false starts. It's just interesting. Like, I think it eventually all goes back to the quarterback, and I think Caleb himself took blame. And I think Ben's kind of veiled answer protected his quarterback a little bit. And I understand it. You have a young quarterback and a veteran line trying to figure this out, but it'll be interesting how much the cadence changes now they go back on the road. Yep. The silent count comes into effect, and like a different storyline is about to unfold here. All right, let's move on. Who have been the Bears' best players thus far this season?
I say Kevin Byard. I mean, the
Absolutely.
obvious answer here is because he is tied for the league lead right now in interceptions with 4. But he's been such a consistent piece in a secondary that at least, on the back end, they haven't had any injury issues, and that's good. But with all of the rotating pieces that they've had at cornerback dating back to training camp, he's been like the solid foundation back there, and he's a ball hawk. I mean, that the body control, the way he made that catch when he's like realizing where the boundary is and being able to stay in bounds to come away with that pick against the Saints, like that's why you can tell, like, this is a guy who's played 152, 153 career games in the NFL. It's putting yourself in position to spark that takeaway streak that this team has had. And with the 16 that they've come away with in 6 games, I mean, he's a huge part of that. So I think that he's probably, of all the defensive players, I'd say he's been the best one through the first 6 games of the season.
Yeah, I like that one. I'll go to offense again, and I'm going to talk about the guy that never gets talked about, and you sometimes almost forget he's on the team, which is why he's one of the best players, and that is Joe Thuney, who has just come in from the first day. You don't notice him. He's not jumping off sides or missing blocks, or, I mean, I'm sure it hasn't been perfect, but this guy has just been everything. True all-pro type player who's been there before, who's had an incredible career, borderline Hall of Famer who's continuing that type of play for the Bears on offense. So I'm going to go with Joe Thuney.
Those are the 2 players I have on my list. And just to further the point on Kevin Byard, he looks like he's all over the field.
Yeah.
Like every tackle that is being made in the secondary or even close to up front, like he's there. He's been a standout player from like early on in the season with his hard physical tackling to now making the interceptions, making the plays on the ball. He just looks and feels like he's all over the field. And I bet like opposing teams, like when they're scouting the Bears going through the film, it feels that way too.
Now, I am going to quibble a little bit Because I agree with my guy Lance Briggs, who thinks there's one other player on defense who has been better than Kevin Byard, and that is Tremaine Edmonds. He just looks like a different player the way that he's being used in this defense with Dennis Allen. He looks fast. He's coming downhill. He's been good in coverage. He's getting his hands on the football. He's getting his own interceptions. Of course, the one last week was tipped up by TJ Edwards to begin with, but he's been phenomenal and what they thought they were getting a few years ago when they signed him.
According to Pro Football Reference, he's 9th in the league in tackles right now. I know there's some guys that are tied, and
despite playing one fewer game than a lot of the guys ahead of him.
Yeah, he had 9 against the Saints. He feels like that weak side linebacker role, it's better for him, and he was brought to be Brian Urlacher in the middle. This is better for him in Dennis Allen's defense.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were talking about with Tyreek Stevenson. Like, I feel like he's a rejuvenated player playing in this defense. He looks like a different version of himself from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Courtney, thank you. Where do you stand on this team overall? I mean, since you've joined the beat, you haven't covered a lot of wins.
No,
like
no.
us.
Well, wait a minute. Neither
I
have we.
say, like, I'm not much different than you guys the last couple of years.
No.
No, I think 4-2 now feels different than the 4-2 of last year. Last year was a house of cards, not stable foundation. You had players, having player-led meetings by week 4, which is never a good sign. And so I just, we talked about this yesterday. Like, do you guys remember the people who at this time last year were talking about, wow, the NFC North could get 4 teams into the playoffs? And it's just like, that felt like such a facade, and we weren't actually sure what we were going to get coming out of the bye. And then you have Washington and the 10-game losing streak. And it's like, okay, you could have probably seen that coming. Even when there was improvement on offense after they make the OC switch, it still was a 10-game losing streak. This feels different because it feels like the mortar that they're putting in between the bricks is actually like real cement, like something that you can stand on as like a legit foundation for this team. And I think the fact that they keep saying that they have not played their best game yet, because they haven't, and not resting on, hey, we got all these takeaways. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter. 10 points off takeaways, 10 points off turnovers early on in the game. Like, it got the job done. No, the fact that they're not satisfied with that, nor should they be, because you should be scoring a lot more off of interception, fumble recovery, turnover on downs, missed field goal in the first half. That game, a 20-point lead is great. It could have been more. And I think the fact that they acknowledge that shows you that they're building towards something still that feels like it's much more attainable and sustainable to keep this thing going. Even if, in this next stretch, I know a lot of people are like irritated that I said it was a favorable stretch, but the Ravens defense is not good. Like, I encourage people, please watch the last couple of games. They are not good. They've given up 35 points in 4 of 6 games this season. The Bengals do not have a pass rush without Trey Hendrickson. And I'm not so sure that it's going to look like the Unk Bowl last week every time that Joe Flacco plays. That offensive line is still not great. And we'll see what happens with Jackson Dart and the New York Giants when they're here in week 10. But their defense also just gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter. So I do think this is a stretch that they can manage. They don't have to come away at 3-0. But I feel like a 2-1 record in the next 3 games should be where the bar is for this team. They've shown that they can beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. Like, you're supposed to beat the Saints. That's not supposed to be a trap game. And they've shown that they can beat the teams like the Commanders on the road, hostile environment, big storylines going into the game, everybody collectively holding their breath to see if this team can, right their wrongs from a year ago. I think that given those expectations, they've raised the bar on themselves to a point where expecting that they look good against some of the better teams in the NFL. And I'm not even saying these 3 teams, but like the overall perception, the Ravens are favored in this game. The line's 6.5 right now. If Lamar doesn't play, that line comes down. But even at 6.5 as underdogs, I feel like they have a good shot to go in there and to keep it looking like it has the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Bears feel like they're building towards something where last year at this point, they were just trying to survive in a sense.
Yeah, it was crazy. With a winning record, they were trying to survive.
Yes,
That
yeah.
tells you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, Hogan and I talked about this. Like, let's say the Hail Mary doesn't happen. I still feel like there are enough red flags from the players only meeting to questioning Shane Waldron to Shane Waldron questioning himself to all of these things swirling around the offense of Caleb Williams to know that like that house of cards that you talked about was probably going to blow over in a week or two still, regardless of what happened in Washington.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, all you got to look is the Commanders game even last year. Even though they should have won it with the Hail Mary, they didn't
play well at all.
Terrible in that game. Like
outside of the game-winning drive, like it did not look good. I mean, they were winning that. They were staying in that game on field goals.
Yeah, and and then the one long Swift run, and other than that, it was So even just comparing those two games, I think is a good sample size of what the difference is between these two teams. Courtney, you're the best. Follow her on Twitter at Courtney R. Cronin. You see her everywhere on ESPN and on ESPN Radio. We always appreciate your time. Thanks, Court.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Courtney.
All right, there she is, Courtney Cronin. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back with some numbers you need to know for the week. I have one more thought on the Ravens, too, and a couple nuggets at the end of the show as well. Don't go anywhere. Hogan Johns will be right back. Our friends at Sunnyside Dispensary are here to elevate your football season. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Super easy. Check them out wherever you're at in Illinois. Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign. You go far north as South Beloit, right at the Wisconsin border. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or you could just check out sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. That's right, 50% off your first 3 online purchases. To get that, enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. For returning customers, you can use code CHGO50. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
You know what, Adam? Soda used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. RC Cola, though, it's not a soft drink. Just damn good cola. It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RG is the OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow-ups. RC hasn't changed its stripes since 1905 because it didn't need to. It goes perfect with some pizza, Italian beef sandwich. I'm just telling you, try it out. It's the same bold, crisp flavor it's always been. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst. So do yourself a favor. Grab some RC or local store for the next Bears game. We got the Ravens. Then we got the Bengals. A lot of good games coming up. Stock up for all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, Halloween maybe, or just watching the next game of your choice. RC is the move for whatever you're doing. Telling you, Chicago-style pizza and RC Cola. You can't go wrong.
All right, appreciate Courtney jumping on with us. She's the best, and hope everybody enjoyed that interview. My last thought I wanted to share real quickly on the Ravens is, and I do think we have to take this into account, maybe why the line is where it is with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, sometimes you got to trust these lines. Part of the reason why I think Lamar's playing is because of how confident Vegas seems to be on the line, being 6.5. If it was, they would just take it off the board if there was really a huge amount of doubt. But we'll see. I mean, things can obviously change. Guys have setbacks and things like that. Regardless of that, though, Johns, this is like a kitchen sink game for the Ravens. They have to win this. Like this is like a playoff game for them. They can't fall to 1-6 and expect to make the playoffs realistically, even in that division, which does seem to have a door open. But this is an incredibly important game for them, and they're coming off the bye where they could make some adjustments, make some changes, get guys healthier. So I just think that that's a factor that needs to be discussed.
Well, this is it in a sense, right? Like 1-5, I think already leads to different conversations in like your building in different parts, especially like the GM's office, team president. Like, there's different conversations I'm sure happening right now because they're 1-5. Publicly, I'm sure they're not giving up on this season. I understand it. But 1-6, I mean, you start looking at next year, you start looking at the bigger picture, not just game after game. You start thinking about where this team needs to go, like what happened, what went wrong. I know John Harbaugh has had different offensive coordinators. He's had different defensive coordinators, but you start asking big picture questions when your team starts off this way, especially when you have the grandest of expectations.
Yeah, it's a huge game for them, and they're back at home. Just all that needs to be taken into account. Honestly, even if Lamar doesn't play, it would kind of be shocking not to get a better defensive outing out of that unit. There's kind of more what I'm talking about, even just defensively. We know what this team is and is not without Lamar, but it's really that defense. And I go back even to week 1. I know they were playing the Bills, but there were warning signs in those first couple games with the defense. It just did not look as what did they blow a 15-point lead? I think they had in week 1 against the Bills, and it just started to collapse from there. So, or maybe this is what they are, and they're just not that good on that side of the ball, which is entirely possible.
And injuries happen; they matter. We talked earlier this week how you shouldn't underrate like injuries beyond the quarterback, because this is what's happening with the Ravens. Of course, losing those defenders that Courtney talked about is going to affect everything a defensive coordinator wants to do. But at the same time, when they come back and the play isn't where they expect it to be, I think you get what you're getting right now with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. All right. Should we get to some numbers?
Point is, those are some numbers.
Let's go.
All right. First one. Caleb Williams completed 7 of 8 passes for 102 yards against the Saints blitz, who brought extra numbers on 28.6% of his dropbacks. Williams was significantly less effective when not blitzed, completing just 8 of 18 attempts for 70 yards with an interception. Williams was pressured on 45% of his non-blitz dropbacks, and when pressured, Williams completed just 2 of 10 pass attempts for just 40 yards.
Those are courtesy of Next Gen Stats from our producer, Katie Langen. John's, I think that probably just comes down to accuracy. And sometimes when you know blitz is coming, you have a shorter, quicker throw.
Yeah.
Ball gets out. Whereas when he's sitting back there in the pocket or even running on some of these boots and stuff that they've done where he's had trouble being accurate on the run, a lot of those, or even when he's scrambling, a lot of those are still coming on plays where they're not actually getting blitzed. So sometimes the blitz actually just helps you, especially if you can identify it coming, to know, okay, I got to get this ball out. Here's my easy target.
I like that. It seems like there's the identification of the blitz is happening, and Caleb Williams is getting to the answers that's provided to him within the offense. Like, that to me is extremely encouraging, especially against the Saints. It's something to build towards. The other stats I find a bit, I don't want to say alarming, but this is about having a higher expectation for Caleb Williams. He needs to be better. We're not over-criticizing him here. He would tell you himself that he needs to be better. He's saying it. He's literally saying, like, I've not been good throwing on the run. And you know Ben Johnson wants to have some of that stuff in his offense, especially with the boots. Those are where some of the most explosive plays come for the Bears. Can I give you, like, a not-so-fishbane fun fact real quick?
Yeah, I like how you called it the accurate name.
Not so fun, fishbane fun fact? Yes.
Yeah, because they're not, they're never fun.
I'm going to put this in a question to you. Do you know who has a higher completion percentage this year, Justin Fields or Caleb Williams?
Well, I think because you're asking the question, probably Justin Fields.
Yes, yeah. Justin Fields, 63.7 completion percentage. Caleb Williams, 61.1. And I know. You factor in adjusted completion percentage, different numbers will shift. But At the end of the day, Caleb Williams is below league average in completion percentage right now after 6 games.
Yeah, but this actually is a fun fact. Do you know between Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, which one leads in having their owner drive a bus over their head?
Jeez. Fields. Yeah, I heard that too.
That was unbelievable.
Woody is not happy with his quarterback situation.
Oh my goodness. If we could just complete some passes, it would look good.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that? That is also that's just a sign of dysfunction.
It's a sign of a lot of things. It's a sign why that
your owner there's definitely things to criticize George McCaskey for sometimes, but he would never start talking about his quarterback play like that.
No, he would not. He would not.
So, all right, let's get to the next one, Katie.
Okay. This one's also courtesy of Next Gen Stats. DeAndre Swift rushed for 124 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries against the Saints, gaining 30 rushing yards over expected and a season-high 79 after contact. Swift also tied his career high with 5 runs of 10-plus yards. It was the outside running game where Swift was at his best, gaining 102 of 124 yards, including all 5 explosive runs.
So for those listening to the podcast and can't see the graphic that's on the screen, what stands out to me, because the Next Gen Stats graph shows basically his run tracks, like which runs were successful, which ones weren't. But John's, they're still outside runs technically on here, and they're, the stats show they still better, as Katie just said, running outside. But these are not wide runs. These are all relatively, to me, tight to the formation, like right outside the tackle. And there's plenty of examples on here running essentially between the hashes even, and they're tight hashes at the NFL level. This is a very encouraging graphic to me.
Can we give the offensive line and the Bears tight ends their flowers on this? Like the Bears run game success starts with them. Like I know DeAndre Swift is the beneficiary of this, but the offensive line, the blocking, the holes, the cutback lanes, provided by the tight ends, they were huge. It was an exceptional day of blocking by the Bears big guys, starting up front with the offensive linemen, and you got to include the tight ends. Colston Loveland included, physical at the point of contact. He's becoming what you need him to be as a blocker. Durham Smythe, we know Cole Kmet got hurt, but he's improved as a blocker. Got to give these guys a lot of credit. I like that DeAndre Swift is picking up more yards after contact. It's been one of my criticisms of him, but it starts with the line. It starts with the tight ends. And those holes against the Saints, those cutback lanes, were significant for DeAndre Swift to run through, and Kyle Monangai.
All right, this last one's my favorite one, and I think it's pretty impressive. Go ahead, Katie.
I'll just say courtesy of Marcus Mosher. Most big plays through week 7. You guys can take it away here because it's a pretty big visual.
So, I mean, this is essentially explosive plays. So it's rushes over 10 yards and receptions over 20. We all know this league is about explosive plays. The Bears lead the league with 8 explosive plays per game. The next closest is the Los Angeles Rams at 7.1. It's a very significant amount higher than the next best team. And also, the reason why it's being, it's important to say per game is because the Bears have only played 6 games. The Rams have played 7. You go down, like a lot of these other teams have not had their bye week yet or have it this weekend. But despite that, if I'm looking at this correctly, trying to go down the list, the Bears have 27 rushes of 10 plus, and despite playing one fewer game than a lot of these teams, the only team I see that has more than that is the Washington Commanders at 28, and they've played 7 games. They've had an extra game. So when it comes to big explosive rushing plays, Johns, even with one fewer game at their disposal, they're second in the entire league.
So I saw this yesterday on X, and the most, like, it generated a lot of quote tweets, and a lot of people called this a Ben Johnson tweet, a Ben Johnson stat, and they are 100% correct. This is Ben Johnson's vision for the offense. Explosive plays lead to points, whether it's field goals or touchdowns. They lead to points. They lead to wins. There's a lot of advanced stats that say that. And Ben Johnson's offense, with the quarterback that can still play better, is producing them right now. You just see it like in a lot of the play action plays, especially the ones where Drew Dalman peels back, those little, whirly block to get to the defensive end. Like, those plays are so well designed for his quarterback, for the entire offense. Those are chunk yardage plays. And then we already talked about the run game, what DeAndre Swift is doing. I love how Ben Johnson was just obsessed with fixing it. So seeing this is beyond encouraging, knowing that the quarterback can still play even better. He'd tell you that himself.
All right. Good numbers this week to think about.
Point is, those are some numbers.
We got to take one more timeout. And the fall owners meetings are going on right now. And there's a few nuggets that I think, and a couple that have to do with the Bears, that we will share with you before we get out of here. But first,
all right, Adam, fall is here. You can feel it. You got the hoodies on. It's cold outside in Chicago. It's football air. Get those bonfires going. But if you're like most guys, you're still putting in hard work. And yeah, that means sweat. Don't let body odor sideline you. I have something to tell you about Mando deodorant. Mando deodorant plus sweat control. This isn't just another cover-up. Mando is one stick, two jobs. Powerful odor and sweat control. It actually stops odor before it even starts. No more masking, just freshness. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, with 2 free products of your choice, like the free mini body wash, plus free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and say hello to long-lasting freshness.
And we all know that moment, the one where you realize you left your sunglasses somewhere. Maybe it was on the beach. My son once buried some sunglasses.
I lose them
the
all
sand.
the time. All the time.
We couldn't find them. Maybe you put them on the roof of your car. We've all been there. But here's the great thing. When you find Shady Rays, and if you haven't already, you need to check them out. They changed the game on this. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And the best part is, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back, and we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try it for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Closing out the show here with a few nuggets, Johns. I wanted to share this one. So the fall owners meetings are going on right now, and some TV things they announced, some schedule things they announced. But this one's important, I know, because we know we have so many international listeners and viewers on this show. So they announced this morning that the Bears-Eagles game on Black Friday which we already knew was on Prime Video. It's a Prime game. But it will be available globally now, all over the world, 240 countries and territories. So no matter where you are listening or watching to this show, you will be able to watch that Bears-Eagles game on Black Friday. And you don't even need a Prime Video subscription for this one. No subscription needed. You just download the Prime Video app wherever it's available, and you'll be able to watch that game against the Eagles, which is super cool. They have a full-blown lineup of sports that day. There's a couple NBA games after that as well. So you would think even with sort of that barrier of it not being available on normal television, the audience for that game on Black Friday should be massive across the world.
So the Bears have 5 games before that game. What do you think we're still talking about? And what do you think is new to the conversation for the Chicago Bears at that point? Late November.
Whoa, put me on the spot.
How's that for a nugget for you? Well, I'll just say this. I'm with Courtney that they have a favorable 4-game stretch here against the Ravens, Bengals, or 3-game stretch here against the Ravens, Bengals, and Giants. You should expect to go 2-1 if you're the Bears. Like that's, of course, they want to win every game, but from the outside looking in, that is attainable to the Chicago Bears in these next 3 weeks. Maybe they don't beat the Ravens, but Bengals, Giants, those are winnable games for them.
Well, they'll be favored against the Giants in 2 weeks, no question about it. I think people are sleeping on the Bengals a little bit too much. It's not like the entire team forgot how to play football just because Joe Burrow got hurt. And
they also have like 2 amazing receivers.
That's what I mean. And all they needed was a quarterback to figure out how to get them the ball. And that's exactly what Joe Flacco's doing right now. That's why Mike Tomlin was so pissed that the Browns traded him there. So they're playing the Jets at home this weekend. I think the Bengals win that one. If the Bears lose, if the Bears, there's a world in which I don't know that the Bears are favored in that game. So just keep that in mind too. I do think 2-1 though is attainable in this 3-game stretch and sort of should be the expectation.
I'm kind of curious about when Cam Scatterbo's coming to town, just how the conversation unfolds with Ben Johnson. I think the Bears are very happy with Kyle Monangai, but Cam Scatterbo seems to be that's the David Montgomery role. And everything he did in college, he's doing in the NFL, and he's become a viral sensation out of New York. And I still think what he's doing there could have worked here for the Chicago Bears, albeit, again, the Bears are happy with Kyle Monangai at this point.
Yeah, well, there's 2 players that anybody who watched college football last year could tell you were really good and were just good football players, which I always go back to in the draft conversation. Like, just draft the good football players. And those 2 guys were Tyler Warren and Cam Scatterbo. Like, anybody who watched college football last year could see that. And sometimes this stuff just gets overthought a little bit. The other nuggets I had, this one doesn't really have to do with the Bears, but I still find it super interesting and I like it. Roger Goodell just announced while we were doing this show that they're moving the Pro Bowl games to Super Bowl week. So instead of it being a standalone event the week before the Super Bowl in a different location, it'll be the Tuesday of Super Bowl week at the Super Bowl location.
Wow.
Which makes a ton of sense to me. You have the entire world is already there. You have Monday night, you have opening night with the media and everything in the stadium. Now Tuesday, you're going to do a flag football game. And what's interesting about this too is as they try to build momentum for flag football towards the Olympics, which is a huge initiative for the NFL and football in general, this is kind of what a preview. It'll end up being a little bit of a preview for what that'll be in the Olympics.
You know me, I love flag football, but like the momentum, I don't know. I've seen that the algorithm now is sending me flag football clips, but these kids are wearing full equipment with flags on.
Well, it's not full tackle equipment.
Yes, it is.
Like the same pads, or are they just like softer pads?
No, helmet, pants, everything.
Like a football helmet or the soft ones that
like a real full padded football with the flags on.
Okay, well that's not what they're doing in the Olympics.
I know it's not what they're doing in the Olympics, but it's showing up on my algorithm because kids are playing it. Like either you're playing tackle football or you're not.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's just 7-on-7 practice then.
Like the old school football player coach in me's coming out. Like,
yeah,
guys, football is intrinsically a contact sport. You cannot take all of the violence out of the sport. It's part of what makes it football and great.
Okay.
Mini rant over.
No, it's good. And I'm with you. But this will be interesting, and I think this is a good move.
I do.
Because
Makes our week a little bit more interesting there when we're there.
Well, and the flag game has been kind of interesting. It's been more interesting than what the Pro Bowl became when they were basically playing flag football. They were basically doing what you just said with all their pads and everything on.
That's what they should have done. Play with the pads on, but with flags.
I mean, that's basically what they were doing.
Yeah.
So it's been, I mean, I still can't tell you that I've watched it. I know my kids have kind of enjoyed the Pro Bowl thing the last couple of years. So doing it during the Super Bowl week, I think makes a lot more sense. We'll bring more attention to it. My last little thing here, and bear with me on this one. I'm going to give you a NASCAR nugget before you.
So really bear with them, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But bear with me and don't roll your eyes yet because this has to do with the NFL, including the timing. So NASCAR announced this morning that they're moving the 2027 Daytona 500 a week later off of President's Day weekend, which it normally is, because the Super Bowl is going to end up being on President's Day weekend. Now, that year, it's just more of a calendar thing. It's a later Labor Day. I think Labor Day is not till like the 7th or something. So that's pushing the entire NFL calendar back a week. It happens every once in a while. But this has been a larger discussion because NASCAR's been essentially the Daytona 500 is their Super Bowl, and it's always the week after the actual Super Bowl, and they have been preparing for this 18-game schedule to eventually come out, which is going to push everything back a week. So to me, it's them doing this in advance. 2027, so this is at the end of next NFL season, 2026 season, right into February 2027. The timing, of this announcement being at the same time the NFL owners meetings are going on right now, and they're making a bunch of announcements this morning, is interesting to me. And also, how close are we to this 18-game schedule actually happening? By the time we get to the season after that, could it just be a thing where they just keep that the standard? Does NASCAR just say, hey, look, this is where we're going to be. We're moving this back a week. We're shifting our entire schedule back a week for the NFL. And then they just go to what everyone's been talking about forever, where President's Day weekend becomes the Super Bowl weekend. And that's more me just sort of deducing what's happening here. Point is, we're not that far off from this happening, I think.
That means everybody's off on Monday.
Right, which has always made sense.
Which is what everybody has always wanted.
Right.
Except the players.
Now, my thing is, if they go to 18 games, I think there should be 2 bye weeks.
100%.
But does that then push everything back 2 weeks? Or are we starting on Labor Day weekend now? Is week 1 Labor Day weekend?
Well, you're probably going to remove a preseason game. I'm sure there's a way to do it.
Yeah. That would be the thing to me. Remove a preseason game. Start Labor Day weekend. Do not start training camp a week earlier. That's my biggest selfish fear.
Yeah.
We don't need to be starting training camp in the middle of July.
No.
Please. Remember that year we had to drive to Decatur on like July?
My car broke
July
down on the way
18th.
there. Yeah, my car broke down on the way there.
And you were dodging tornadoes.
Yes. And then I get there, and I'm like, this is the biggest waste of time. I was just annoyed.
Yeah. But I believe, yeah, that was fun. All right. We are out of here. This has been a fun episode. Thanks to Courtney Cronin for joining us. I guess that's pretty much all we did. Then we talked about NASCAR. That was cool.
Good, better, best.
Good, better. I like that segment. We'll keep that going.
We should bring it up with occasional guests, at different points in the season. Just let the record show we are the first show, radio or podcast, to do a good, better, best segment, I believe.
That is incredibly wrong, because we did it the day after the first time that Ben Johnson did that speech. We did it the day after on CHGO.
Oh, I forgot. That doesn't
and
count in
then
my book.
CHSN stole it from us.
That's
and
right.
did it.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then they've been doing it, I think, every week, to their credit, which we have not been doing on CHGO. And so I think we're actually more like the 16th show to do it. But, you know,
the first one
copycat
that kind of matters and is bragging about it.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, I'll take it.
It's a copycat league. So yeah, that's what we do here. All right, we're out of here. We'll be back Friday. We will be previewing the Baltimore Ravens, which we did a little bit today, but hopefully we'll have a lot more information on what's going on with their quarterback situation, their injury situation, the Bears injury situation too. There's a couple big names that we'll have to figure out what's going on with them over the next couple of days of practice. So we will talk to you on Friday morning.
See ya.